This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Rifle TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're at the headquarters of Frank Warren, Queensbury, BoxNation. Yeah, everything.
Anything else you want to add?
Absolutely. With me, I've got promoter Frank Warren. First of all, how are you, Frank? You've had a haircut, I can see.
Yeah. I've had my ears lowered actually.
Really?
Yeah. No. All off summer shearing.
Who cuts your hair?
I had it done at the Albert Hall.
Do you have someone that comes in and cuts your hair? I can't imagine you going into like just an old school barber's and...
Yeah, I'll go to an old school barber and cuts me hair,
shave and all that?
No, I don't like that. Years ago I had one of those. Used to have a wet shower and a fella done a real big cutting job on me and whatever, and too much blood, so I do it myself.
What, one of your enemies, was it, Frank?
No. Well, if it was, they'd done a bad job.
They've done a bad job. Yes, it's been a while since we've obviously properly caught up of sort of a lot has happened obviously over the last month, especially start with Terry Flanagan in some sort of unorthodox circumstances won the world title, but nevertheless did win the world title. Wasn't Terry's fault, but that Zepeda obviously dislocated his shoulder and he won it via that way. But what were your thoughts on that first?
Well, it was a shame because it was shaping up to be a good fight, wasn't it? I thought that Zepeda comes in with a sort of formidable record as far as knocking people over, and he threw quite a couple of big shots at Terry, and Terry sort of dealt with it. And I felt that I really fancied Terry in that fight. I fancied him to win the fight, and it was unfortunate what happened for Zepeda. It's more important, it's unfortunate for the fans, and it was unfortunate for Terry because really, although he's won the title, I'm sure he'd much rather won it in a different way. But the bottom line is, he's the world champion, and he's got to capitalise on that. So at the moment, the WBO are looking at their complaint about it being declared a no contest, which I can't see how they can do that because it wasn't Terry's fault what happened. He threw a shot and he dislocated his shoulder, so under the rules he should quite rightly, as he has been done, declared champion. So now it's moving on to the next one, and we're looking to get him out on the 10th of October in Manchester and do a big show up there. Derry Matthews on it, Jack Catterall and a few of the guys, Liam Walsh may fight on that card. So we're looking to do a big show up there and hopefully make some good matches. I'd like to try and get, if we could, it'd be good to get Andy Croller in with one of them.
Yeah, obviously Anthony Croller was left disappointed a couple of weeks ago with his draw with Perez. Did you watch the fight? What did you make of it?
I think I thought he won it. I think it was as far as talking to Philip Fondue about the fight, he thought that who does a lot of matchmaking. He actually thought that that he got beat. He thought Croller had won the fight. Philip's a good judge. I felt it was the other way around. I thought Croller had done enough to win it, but he didn't. And it is what it is, the result. So from our point of view, I mean, it's a great northern fight there. Him and Terry Flanagan would be a big fight. I'd love to do that.
Just to clear up, obviously what's a little bit confusing, obviously, is Derry Matthews' position. We know he holds the interim title with the WBA at that weight. How are the WBA as in forcing?
We're working on it at the moment. I mean, he should really get the fight, but we'll see what happens. And it's sometimes there's a lot of politics goes on within, as we all know, within boxing, but in the WBA. So we're working hard on that, and that's why we're not in a position to announce the opponents, although we're announcing the date. But we will have in the next couple of weeks, get that nailed down and have a proper press conference to talk about who they're going to fight. I'm quite sure on the strength of the Perez fight, a lot of people would like to fight him.
Wouldn't it make more sense just to stick Derry in with Terry?
I like that fight. I've got no problem with that fight. I like that fight, but again, it's over the next couple of weeks we'll see how the dust settles and who fights who. But it's quite a sexy division in this country at the moment.
As I understand, obviously there's been some appeal regarding the scoring for the Croller and Perez thing. So I think they're kind of waiting for the outcome of that, and then it's all a little bit up in the air at the moment.
It is, but as I say, that's not our decision. That's for the governing body to decide, and they'll see what they do with it.
Going to the weekend from the SSC Arena at Wembley. I always think, is it SEE or SSC?
I'll get mixed up with all the ones.
Wembley Arena.
Wembley and Manchester Arena, and that's how They change their sponsors every 5 minutes.
Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's first talk about Billy Joe Saunders. Obviously, we knew what kind of fight it was going to be for him, and it was just a concern of obviously him nicking cuts and things like that. And
well, it was, as you and I have sort of spoken on numerous occasions, we didn't lead anybody along. We said we were looking for it just for him to get a run out, which is what he got, because he hasn't fought since November. The return match with Eubanks didn't happen for various reasons, so we had to get on and make a fight, and we made get him in now. I want Bill going into that fight against Andy, which is a tough fight going in the other guy's backyard. I want him going in there not just physically well but mentally well, and he needed to get those couple of rounds under his belt, and he's done that, and he's off to train down in Marbella. I think he's going this week, and so he's going down there and get the preparation going. And that's a cracking fight. Him and Andy Lee, I think it's going to be something a little bit special, and I'm looking forward to that one.
Going back to the press conference, obviously one of the main topics of debate was the Katie Taylor aspect of fighting on the undercard, which led into a whole, catalogue of stuff that happened after. I don't know how well aware you are that in the Irish press
I've seen them.
Picked up on a lot of stuff that Billy Joe Saunders said in one of my interviews. I mean, I know Billy Joe Saunders very well to know that his comments were tongue-in-cheek, but I suppose for people that don't really know Billy Joe Saunders and are just reading it from a newspaper or online, they could obviously get the complete different idea about it.
Of course they can, and it was said tongue-in-cheek, and it might probably say it's bad taste or it weren't thought through or whatever, but the bottom line is I know that Bill, as he said himself, he's got a lot of regard for her. He actually said that when she sparred with Frankie Gavin that she clipped him or landed a shot on him.
Apparently.
Whatever, I don't know what happened, but that's what Bill said. But that's like I've said, I'm not a fan of women's boxing. It's not. I just don't like watching it, and that's my personal choice. It's nothing against them. They're dedicated. They put their life and soul into it. It's a tough sport, and Katie and many of them are successful, even the ones that are not successful. That's the way they choose to run. What they choose to do in their life. That's the way they want to. What they enjoy doing, and they're good at doing it. Good luck to them, and God bless them for doing what they do. But there's choices. Like some people don't like watching men box. Some people don't like boxing. Some people don't like cricket. Some people don't like football. For me, I'm not a big fan of watching them.
When you say you don't, obviously, I'll give you an example. I don't like golf, but I don't believe it's not. I don't have a view that golfers shouldn't be golfing. So do you share the view that you don't like it, but you think that?
No, I'll be very honest about it. I mean, I'm a real believer in equality. I mean, nobody, I think, more than anyone. I mean, I've had, women press officers. I've got, women working in my business. Quite a few girls work for us in quite significant jobs for my promotion company, and certainly the same in at BoxNation. There's no problem for me with that. That's how it should be, equality. But I think there are certain things that me as a person, what I like to. I mean, I don't like watching women's football. I don't get off on it. I don't get off on watching women play football. It's not. I'm not denigrating what they do. For me, it's not the level of what men is. It's not that level. I mean, it's just not. I just don't doesn't do it. Women playing cricket, it's the same thing. Watching women do other sports, like women playing tennis, I love it. Watch it all day long. I think it's fabulous. And you look at them, and again, I know they only play 2 sets compared to the men's 3, but you watch them play and you see some great games. But it's standards, and their standard, women's football standard, is not as good as men, and same with boxing. That's not denigrating. It's just a fact of life. Men are stronger, are more physical in those areas. And that's how it is. That's great. They want to do it, but for me personally, I'm not particularly interested in it.
Well, could you see how some people would deem that as a sexist view?
Not at all. I don't see why that's sexist. Good luck to them doing it, and I'm sure they enjoy doing it, and I'm sure lots of people enjoy watching it. For me to say that it's not, it's like I'm not particularly interested in watching Southern League football. I'm spoiled. I go to I'll go and sport, not over the last, well, we won the cup last year and the year before, but I'll go and watch Arsenal play, I'll go and watch Man United play, Arsenal, Chelsea play Arsenal, and all those games. You get sport watching that. Sometimes it's nice to watch the lower league games, and it's like, but top women's football, I'm not talking about their Southern League comparison, but Southern, women, the best, like England's women's team, for me, is, I'm not particularly that bothered whether I watch it or not. And it's not against the women, it's just what the standard is. That's not having a go at the women, it's the standard of what it is. And they won't achieve, women are not going to achieve what the men achieve. They just won't do that. And it's no good anybody telling me any different, that's my opinion. But as a result of that, it doesn't really interest me. I'm not going to rush home or record one of those matches where I would record, a match with one of the top clubs.
I mean, going back to the Billy Joe Saunders thing, I think he made a point of, his comments, like I said, tongue-in-cheek or not, weren't sort of aimed at Katie Taylor because obviously she's achieved something that Billy Joe hasn't achieved in the Olympics.
Well, of course she done. She went out there. That's what I'm saying. You can't take away her achievements and her endeavours and what she's put in. I mean, she's put a large proportion of her life into training and being successful in what she's doing. And you've got to applaud her for that, and that's fantastic what she's done. And, we all know whether it's a man or a woman, whatever they put into what they're doing, you make sacrifices, and certainly boxing, it's to her business. But, God bless her, and it's brilliant what she's done, but for me, I'm not particularly, I don't particularly enjoy watching women box. That's really, because the standard's so haphazard. You've got the outstanding stars, then you've got women, it's not so much a level playing field as men's boxing as well. But, as I say, I'm not, it doesn't do it for me, and it's nothing against women. There's a lot of other things that, I like watching women swimming. Olympic Games, anything's on, you're watching that, they're great. As I said, the tennis, the golf, they're good, but just a couple of sports just doesn't bother me, whether I watch it or not. Nothing against them.
Anyway, so obviously Billy Joe, a fourth round stoppage win, come unscathed, so he'll set up camp, and like I said, all
yeah, he's got it's a real tough fight. It's a tough fight for both of them. And, Andy's the guy who's done it the hard way. He's gone on the road and won his title, and he's coming back to his hometown, and I'm sure he's going to get a tremendous reception, and quite rightly so. And Bill's going into his backyard, and you've got to take your hat off to him. But Bill honestly believes he can win. As he said to me when we was talking about the fight, I don't care where it is, as long as I get the fight. And that's what's happening. The fight's on, and two at their best, two good and able and competent, and I think outstanding professionals. And I think there's a lot on the line for them. So I just think there's going to be a special evening.
Obviously, you knowing more about crowds in boxing more than most, was it optimistic, or is it optimistic to try and realistically sell 33,000 in Limerick?
Is it optimistic? I think it's, look, he's an Irish hero. They get behind their fighters, the Irish. I know there's a lot of people going from over here. Yeah, I don't think it's optimistic at all. That will sell, and I'm sure it'll be a big sellout there. It's Munster's rugby club's got a big following. It's a sports city as far as that's concerned. They're one of the top clubs in Europe or in the world of rugby, and I'm sure a lot of people from the club will be out to see, from rugby will come to see him fight, and in general from the rest of Ireland. I mean, we're not just asking just to people come to Limerick; they come from all over Ireland. And the Irish love a good competitive fights. And I know, over the years I've done some fights out there, Eubanks, Collins I've done at Parky Queef in Cork, Ray Close fight, we've taken Naz out there. We've always had extremely good turnouts over the years. And this is a real fight.
Yeah, of course. Ironically, a lot of people from Ireland have said that if Katie Taylor, the national treasure, is on that bill,
that's up to Adam.
Yeah.
That's up to Adam.
On Adam's half.
Yeah, that's Adam's half of the bill. If he gets her on, then great, and they get their wishes.
But even like, it should be a special night in Limerick.
Yeah.
Frank Buglioni obviously had a job to do on Saturday night, which he did in
done it well.
Yeah, done it in good fashion. You've got a date now for him on the 26th of September.
26th, he's going to be fighting Shudinov. Shudinov should be fit in the box, and we've broken those. I'm not getting carried away who Frank fought. You know, that was, you know, obviously Shouldenoff out. We had to find somebody. We, you know, I didn't want to upset the apple cart in as much that, you know, Frank went into a war before Shouldenoff. He's trained hard, so we wanted to get a fight for him. But what I was impressed with Frank, it wasn't so much, forget the opponent for a moment, it's the way he went about his work and he used his brain rather than what he does at times, fights with his heart. He went out and got behind his jab, and I think he boxed in a real controlled fashion. And I think at the end of the day, that stand him in good stead for the fight with Shouldenoff. I think he, you know, might out of bad may come good. You know, that he actually went out there and thought to himself, I can do it. Fight sometimes an easier way than the hard way. So, and that's the key to beating Shouldenoff. He's got to have a discipline. You know, he's not going to be able to go in there and just have a tear up. He's going to have to go out there and think about all the time and focus on his shape, what he's doing, focus on working on those jabs, those long shots, and that is the key to beating Shouldenoff. He's a tough, you know, he's going to be a tough fight for him, but he's capable of doing it.
I mean, looking back at obviously what Derry Matthews had to go with 2 Admiral pullouts earlier on this year, would it be in the back of Frank's mind and also your mind that until they're in the ring, it's a concern?
Well, you know, the fella broke his nose, and you know, let's be honest about it. You know, the economy's not the greatest in Russia at the moment. They want money, and you know, there'll be a, you know, Vlad, who I work with in Russia, who's a partner of mine. You know, he'll make sure his man's here, provided he's fit to box. He'll make sure he's here, but I think he'll be here.
I've got to say it's a great attitude by Frank Buglioni, because he hasn't sat there and sulked about it. He's just got on with it, and look, you know.
That's how it is. I mean, it's no good sulking. You know, who wants to know sulkers? It's no good, you know, being a crybaby about it. And he's not that. Things happen. You get your disappointments, and you've got to lift yourself. You know, you've got to just lift yourself back, and you've got to be in the game. If you're going to sit there feeling sorry for yourself, it's just not going to happen. And you know, he's got a good professional attitude, and that showed on Saturday.
What was interesting was the return of Derek Chisora. Interviewing him before the fight, he said it's not a return, it's just a time out for him or whatever, but it is kind of felt like a return.
Look, let's be honest about it. His fight, it was a complete shutout against Tyson Fury when he fought Tyson Fury. We weren't going to. He's coming back, and and you think he's had some tough fights over the last few years. So it wasn't like he was in with a world beater. But again, it's how you fight and how you win fights. And what I was impressed with, we actually see him as he threw his shot. He actually turned his shoulder and his hand, and everything all went through. And that was a great knockout. Whoever he hit with that, he would have taken him out, I think. So hopefully he gets back in the game. He'll be out again in September, and we're looking for a much better quality opponent for him.
After the fight, I spoke to him. He mentioned Erkan Tepa, who recently knocked out David Price.
Yeah.
Realistically,
listen, if we can do it, I'll do it. All these fights are about money, and it's about, you know, it's not just about what, you know, Tepa, how much he's going to cost. It's also about how much Derek wants. So it's actually thinking, right, can I beat that guy? If I do it, I might have to take a little bit of a haircut financially to get myself in the position to get myself back in the game again. If you become European champion heavyweight, you go straight into various governing bodies top 10. So, you know, we'll see what happens and see how that stacks up financially, but I think we can make that fight.
Another fight which has been quite widely
gone off.
Lights have gone off, it's alright. Widely talked about on social media this week, I know you're not on Twitter or anything, Frank, but I'll tell you, is a fight between Derek Chisora and Lucas Brown from Australia.
Yeah, we made an offer. We did. I mean, we did it through the agent. I didn't make an offer direct to him. That was quite a while ago. It was well over a year ago. And again, that's a good fight. Maybe if everybody's sensible with that, we can make that one.
It just seems...
Remember, at that time, Derek was flying.
Yeah.
You know, he was quite. You know, he was. I think ranked number 1 then. He's not ranked number 1 now. So, but you know, if Lucas Brown wants it. And we can agree terms. Again, for me, September, that would be a great fight to put on the card.
I think, judging by his Twitter, he definitely wants that fight. It's just a case
money.
of
Everybody wants, but it's like, you know, it's got to stack up. And but I've no listen. Derek Chisora's been in with Klitschko. He's been in with Alanius. He's been in with Tyson Fury. He's been in with, nearly every top fighter in the top 10. I mean, you think other than the fight he had last week, everybody's fought has been in the top 10 in the last couple of years. So I'm certain he's not worried about fighting Lucas Brown or anybody. You know, Derek's one thing about him, he's got a fighter's heart and he wants to get back in there. Whether he can do it or not is another thing. That's what's so interesting about it.
Someone else who impressed on the bill Saturday night was Mitchell Smith, who beat Dennis Toubiron inside a round, and it's been widely publicised that Toubiron obviously went 12 rounds with Josh Warrington, who Mitchell Smith's been calling out quite a bit recently. So what did you make of his one-round blowout?
Mitchell Smith reminds me of a young Nassim Hamid. That's how he reminds me, in as much that the confidence that he's got when he's going to the ring, when he's walking to the ring in the dressing room, he's got a smile on his face. It's not like you get, you know, all fighters are different. They've all got different mindsets, different ways about them. With Mitchell, it's like he enjoys it. He wants to, and he's, you know, when we talk about we're in the hurt business, he is in the hurt business. He wants to go out and he wants to fight. When he's in that ring, you can see everything he's doing is with bad intentions. And for me, he is like a young Nassim Hamid with that mindset. He wants it. Goes out, he can punch. He's got a great punch on him. Him and Josh Warrington. If I was involved with Josh Warrington, I wouldn't put him in with Mitchell Smith at all, because there's going to be one result. They want the fight. They can have that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. You know, whether it be me or Matchroom promotes it, put a couple of sealed bids in, let's have a private purse bid between the two of us and get the fight on. No problem with me. Mitchell Smith will win that fight. Because you can't, you know, you've got to really be something, I think, at this level. At the level he's at the moment, and I'm not getting carried away talking about world title fights, it's about him and Josh Warrington. And Josh Warrington's a little bit in front as far as the experience is concerned. But I've got to tell you something. You know, if I was involved with Josh Warrington, I would swerve that fight, because he will get beat.
Okay. I haven't spoken to you about this. Obviously, this was a while ago. There was obviously a situation with Paul Butler and the Caliphai purse bid situation. I spoke to your son Francis about it. But what actually happened there, Frank?
Well, what the bottom line is that you know, I've been out of action for, you know, when the purse bids went in, I was
of course
in the hospital, so I was out of action. And they put a purse bid in, and really she just vacated the title there and then. It wasn't done. Miscommunication in my office. You know, Paul's above fighting for British title, to be quite honest, and we're looking, and he's looking for bigger and better things, and that's where we are with it. It's simple as that. And you know, I'm looking to get Paul in a quite significant fight before the end of the year, and I don't want it, personally, don't want it interrupted by a British title fight, because I think he's above that. It's not being disrespectful to the opponent, but I think he's above that now. We're moving on from there.
But obviously, speaking to Francis, he said that around, obviously, before that purse bid situation, an offer was made. But that would be a great fight in the future, Frank, surely, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course it would. You know, maybe, well, saying it would, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I mean, there's a lot of fights out there. There's, you know, for Paul, if he wants to, you know, that level, you know, there's Conlon.
Conlon, yeah.
You know, I'd much rather that fight than Paul and Conlon's a big fight. Yeah. That's a big fight to be made, big domestic fight. But I think first of all, I'd like to get Paul in a situation where he's, you know, going to fight for a world title again, and we need to get him in. We need a big name. He needs another scalp on his belt to get him back in the game. That's what he needs to do.
On to Liam Smith. Did mention Liam Smith potentially being on the Limerick undercard?
Yeah, we're looking at that at the moment, and I think that looks likely. The only problem we got, because he's got a British title fight, is that it's in Ireland, that the Border Control at the moment don't allow British title fights to take place outside their jurisdiction, which is a pain in the backside. But I would like to get him on that show out in Ireland, so we're going to look at that today and see where we go. And obviously in the next couple of days announce where he's fighting. But he'll certainly fight in very early in the autumn. I'd like to get him out in September.
Is his priority to own the Lonsdale belt outright?
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I understand that, and for a lot of fighters who get to that stage want to do it. But he's up there, isn't he? He's highly ranked now, and he needs to be now fighting for a world title. He's more than capable of winning a world title. He's more than capable of doing it, and he's got to focus we had an opportunity for him, but we got to get him back in there and get that done for him. And in the meantime, we've got to keep him busy.
You made some comments, I think it was in your column, regarding Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton recently. What is your take on that? Because they both fought recently on the 18th of July. Obviously, Frampton out in Texas.
I'll be honest. I mean, look, let's not say how it is. I thought Frampton was, and I like Carl. I think he's great for the game. I just thought he was. I didn't think he looked himself at all out there. I don't think anybody did, and he was quite disappointing from that point of view. I was expecting more out of him, especially that they picked their opponent. The guy was, what was he, ranked number 11 in Mexico or whether I'm not sure where he's ranked, and I was expecting more. And prior to that fight, him fighting Quigg, I fancied Frampton. Now I think it's slightly different. I think that there was, that Carl, there was a couple of, for want of a better word, flaws that you could see in his makeup and that could be exploited upon by a good fighter. Having said that, Quigg done a good job. I mean, that was a tremendous stoppage. But the first round, he was getting caught. I mean, he was getting caught quite a bit in the first round, and I'm wondering if the opponent sort of thought to himself, "Oh, I'm going to have eased up a bit," because he thought it was going to be a bit of an easier night. But you're only going to find out who's the best when if and when they fight each other. But I think at the moment now you've got to just favour Quigg. Carl, as I say, he done well. Carl, he showed a lot of heart. He got back into the fight. From being over twice in the first round, he got back into it. And but there are weaknesses. There are weaknesses that a good quality fighter could exploit.
Moving forward for this year, if you've got an outline of, obviously we know the 19th of September will be in Limerick, the 26th will be back at Wembley Arena.
Yeah.
Other dates penciled in.
10th of October will be Terry and Derry. They'll be, not fighting each other at the moment. They'll be in Manchester. So we'll be, as I say, we're just sorting out the opponents now.
Just 100% do that fight. Two lightweights, you've got them both. Just.
Yeah, I know, but it takes two to tango. So we'll see what happens. And Terry. I'll tell you something with Terry Flanagan. I think he's a very underestimated fighter. I fancied him quite strongly to win that fight. I know how it will turn out, but he's very underestimated, and I think that you're going to see over the next couple of years he's going to be. I think he's going to sort of cement his position as being one of the best out there from Britain. And Derry's the same. Derry's a tough guy, and he's a tough fighter. But it would be a big fight. But let's see what happens in the next week.
So 10th Manchester, and then further on in October.
And then we've got a show in Dublin. We're doing another show in Dublin. We're back there again with MGM, doing one again there. And then we've got a couple of shows that we're putting together for November, and then we'll have 2 shows in December. So it's all happening. We've got got a lot of fighters to get away. Liam Walsh, I want to get moving. I really want. He's an exceptional fighter, and he's on the sort of cusp of it all happening for him. And that's again my job to make that happen. So we've got to work hard on getting him out there.
In comparison to 2014. Where there were some significant marquee fights that we had from lots of your stable and also across from Matchroom as well. In comparison to this year, do you feel like it's slightly dropped?
Look, it swings and roundabouts, and we were unlucky. The rematch with Billy Joe and Chris Eubanks Jr. didn't happen. That would have been a great fight. That just fell apart. Frank and Shudanov just didn't happen. Was supposed to go on. They were supposed to happen. We've lost a couple out there, but they'll all happen by the end of the year. You've got to balance it out on the whole year and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, in boxing, it's not a team game. Somebody gets injured, you lose the fight, or somebody chooses not to take the fight. I know I bang on about Jack Catrell. I think he's going to be a star. I really do rate him, and I think he's going to go from strength to strength. And I mentioned earlier about Mitchell, but there's a load of youngsters out there that are coming through, and I think they're going to be the next generation quality fighters, and we're focusing on them. You know, we've had a real sort of rethink about what we're doing as far as our promotion's concerned, and it's sort of going a little bit down, some of it going back to basics, you know, with the kids and trying to, you know, get them through. And I think you look at, you'll see that, as I say, by the end of the year, I think we're going to get in a position where these guys are all going to be, you know, fight the titles. We've had a couple of interim champions and champions, and that's that's been good for us. We've had some great fights on BoxNation from overseas. I thought the weekend show, Kovalov was, you know, he did what he had to do, but I thought that Pascal fight from Gonzalez was like unbelievable. I mean, brother, have you seen it? Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
brutal. And, you know, the two guys there, you know, knocking lumps off each other. I don't think they had a clinch till about the 8th round.
no.
It was a, you know, fabulous fight. I thought Gonzalez nicked it, by the way. I thought he won it, but you know, it was a cracking fight. Cracking fight.
Just going back to Jack Catchell, I'm assuming he'll be on that 10th of October bill in Manchester.
He will be on that. He may be. Sorry, yeah, he will be on that card. Yes, certainly be on it. He'll be defending his title.
So obviously plenty to look forward to.
Yeah. We've got a couple of charity shows that we do. We're doing the Deborah show at the Hilton, and we're also doing the North Robins. The Deborah show, Francis is going to be doing that with a Total Combat.
Oh, right, okay.
And then he's going to be in a Total Combat show.
Francis is going to be in Total Combat?
Yeah, well, I don't know, listen. I hope he's not, but who knows. No, he's putting the show together, and then he's going to be, he's actually going to do a big show. They're doing a big show. I think they're putting up £500,000 prize money, which now I'm sort of telling stories out of school, but they are putting it up. So it's going to be a big show that we're going to do in London or Manchester before the end of the year. But there's £500,000 worth of prize money going up for the winner.
Should be interesting.
It will be, yeah. I mean, it's
be some big names involved in that.
I don't know yet. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm sort of on I know the BoxNation to televise it, but I'm on. You know, he's putting it together, and they've been working hard. They've sort of done that pilot show on BT, and it's been a while finessing that and getting things together, and now it's all ready to go. And Robert Earl, who's involved in it, who owns Planet Hollywood in the States, he's a shareholder now, and he wants to do one in December in Vegas. So we're looking at, or he's looking, I should say, and getting that together. So some good things happening.
Floyd Mayweather is rumoured to be fighting Andre Berto on CBS.
Yeah.
That's the sort of rumours that have been going around again social media for the last few weeks, and then it changes day to day, and I think I read yesterday it's not going to be on CBS, but Andre Berto seems to be the front runner for Floyd's alleged last fight. So thoughts on that, Frank?
It won't be his last fight. 50 is going to be the fight, and you know, Berto's a good run out for him. That's what it is, in my opinion. If that's what they're making, you know, they get that one out of the way. It's September the 5th, I think.
It's 12th.
September the 12th, they get that one out, and then he'll the big one will be the 50th. That's the one where you're going to be in. I think the interest me who is the opponent, and that'll take place next May. In my opinion, I might be wrong.
I'm assuming BoxNation will attempt to be getting Mayweather's fight.
I don't know. Berto, we're not going to be knocking down doors for that.
There's Mayweather, so attracts people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, you have to speak to George about that. He buys the fights. I mean, you know, I wouldn't be. It doesn't excite me. I don't know about you, but it doesn't excite me.
I think I was looking for potentially until obviously Berto was mentioned. I think the majority of boxing fans were hoping and looking for a bigger name than Berto. No discredit to Berto. But,
no, it's not, certainly not no discredit to Berto. But you know, it is what it is, and you know, it's going to be about the 50th, in my opinion. And I say I might be wrong. He might prove, say, right, 49 fights, I'm done and I'm off. But I just can't see him doing that. I mean, why would you walk away? And I know he says like records don't mean anything, but records do mean things to fighters. You know, to be walking around saying, yeah, I had 50 fights undefeated, and I'm the only guy. It's a big thing, isn't it?
Where do you think Amir Khan fits into all this?
Well, I feel sorry for Amir because Amir deserves the fight, and you know, from the Brits' point of view, it's the fight you'd want to see because obviously the British interest. But I think he deserves it anyway. I think he deserves it more than Berto does, and that's the fight I'd certainly like to see. And styles make fights, and obviously Floyd would be a big favourite going into it. But I'll tell you what, he could give him some problems, with the speed. He's got good hand speed, Amir. I mean, his last fight, he didn't exactly set him alight, did he? But I'm sure he'd be up for this one, and I think he deserves the opportunity.
Obviously, a fight that was talked about for the last 2 years, and especially more so now, shall I say, was Amir Khan to fight Kell Brook, and Amir Khan's obviously been chasing the Mayweather fight, so you can't blame him for that. But then after that, the majority of boxing fans, I think, would agree that Brook Khan is a huge fight.
I agree with you. I think it's a great domestic fight. I don't know what the interest so much would be in the States with it, but it is a great fight, and it's a fight I'd certainly like to see as well as all the fans.
Interesting to see if that will happen or not. But like I said, moving forward now, you've got kind of your dates for obviously September, October, towards the end of the year. You look to put something like London-based, possibly.
Yeah, we'll do. We depends on the outcome of these fights that are happening in September, and then we're looking to do a big show in December, which we will do. So that's which we normally do. So that'd be that's where we want to be with it. And as I say, if we can, it's like all these things. You have these plans in your head. Boxing is a difficult business sometimes. You've got plans. Right, I'm going to get, you're going to fight this guy, then that guy after that, and then this one. But that one gets beat, this one gets beat. You've got to take what's around, and it's seizing the opportunity and what's there at the time. And, if you fancy the job for your guy, and I think, but if everything does go to plan, I think we've got we'll have a really cracking show lined up for December. A real cracking show, proper fights.
How do you rate your current stable with boxers at the moment?
I think the youngsters are as good as anything I've had over the years. I think they're all doing well. I think we've got some really good young fighters coming through, and I think some of them are the best in the UK, if not in Europe at the moment. And I'm quite excited about them. But you're not going to have 20 fighters who are all going to be great fighters. I mean, you look on your hands over the years. Look how many fighters are around. I mean, how many world champions we've got now? Was it about 9? 8 or 9. How many of those world champions are real? Would you think are tip-top world champions? Not many of them. And that's not being disrespectful.
Okay. You mean in comparison to the other people?
In comparison, yeah. Right now, with the fighters out there, and some of them have done extremely well. And I'm not knocking them. I'm not even going to get into names. And some are better than others, and that's how it's always been. Like a Calzaghe or a Naz or a Nigel Benn, Eubanks. They stood out, and there was lots of world champions around at the time. Britain we had quite a few guys, and but they were standout fighters. Hatt was a standout fighter at the time, and I think there are a few guys coming through now who we're involved with. I think who are standout fighters and will become world champions, and will, I believe, hold on to the title for quite a while.
Over the last couple of weeks, Cole Froch, or Cole Froch as you sometimes call him.
That's not just being disrespectful, it's just Froch.
Froch.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Yeah.
We call him Froch for just this interview, but obviously he announced his retirement from the sport, and I mean, regardless of people's opinions on whether they like him or not, he's been he served British boxing very well.
He has, there's no doubt about that. He's been in some great fights over the years, and I think he's been in great fights because of his style. If I'm sort of stepping back and looking at what it was, he's a guy that, fights with his heart and fights with his chin. I mean, he was never, his chin was probably his greatest asset because he got caught quite a few fights, and chin and heart were his assets. And you look at a few of the fights he had, his pure determination got him through them. But he was never the best of his generation. Andre Ward, who won the Super 6 series, he was head and shoulders above all of them. He's back in the game. And you know, Carl, if you lose the enthusiasm for what you're doing, and Carl's obviously it's not there with him anymore, so he decided to retire. But he never fought Ward again, did he? So we never knew whether he could ever, you know, if he'd have fought him again, would he have beat him? I don't think he would have done. And that's not being disrespectful of him, but he's done, you know, he's done everything. He's done, you know, he sold 80,000 tickets. But he's done everything that you can do as a fighter, and he's been entertaining, and he's gone out at the top, which is brilliant for him. I mean, when you think of all, you know, how many years he struggled to get any recognition. You know, he fought on ITV. I think he was on BBC. Fought on, was it Premier? That pay-per-view channel. He fought on all those different channels, and just didn't catch a light. And something will happen later in his career. I'd love to have seen him fight Joe Calzaghe.
Who do you think would have won that?
Well, you know what I think would have won that, Joe Calzaghe. I tried, and I swear to you, I had 2 meetings with him at the Westbury Hotel. He came with his financial advisor, and I offered him that fight on both occasions, and he didn't want to. That's a fact of life. He didn't want to know. He said he was out of contract at the time with McKenzie, so we never got it on. And I fancy Calzaghe. I just think Joe's too fast for him, too smart. You know, Joe Calzaghe could have been a better fighter than he was, and he was. I think he's one of our probably our best since the war. Not that I see anybody before the war, but he's. You know, he's. I always felt Joe would have been too much for him. You know, I don't think he would have coped with Joe.
Well, I guess we'll both.
We'll never know, will we?
Unless both of them decide to come out of retirement for one last shindig.
Yeah,
I doubt. I doubt it.
No, I can't see. And even then, even if they fought now, not so much from Carl's point of view, but more from Joe's point of view. I mean, he's been out of the ring now 2 or 3 years.
Maybe longer.
Well, whatever. You know, you know, he's never going to get back what he had from that period of time. It's not like he's lived a life as a fighter during that period of time, is it? I mean, you know, he's gone out and sort of all what he gave up in his youth, all the enjoyment, he's gone and had a good time in the last few years. So, you know, you're never going to see the best of Joe Calzaghe. That's gone. But I think both of them, at their best, Joe Calzaghe at the pinnacle of his career, and Carl, I think Calzaghe wins that fight.
We shall never know. We shall never know.
Who do you fancy?
I don't want to say. I genuinely don't want to say on camera. I'll do this a lot, Frank. I'll just sit there and I'll tell you off camera if you want.
Tell me off camera, and I'll tell them next time we do.
Next time we do an interview. Just finally, obviously, just being around all the different promotional stables. I'm talking about us, me and James, and we kind of see things. Funnily enough, the stuff that we see sort of behind the scenes is stuff that people would really want to see, but we can't film. So that's quite ironic in that. But where do you stand on the loyalty levels in boxing now? I know it hasn't changed. Obviously, you must have seen over the last 100 years. Sorry, last
110 years.
110 years, things happen and people move on and stuff like that.
Can I just tell you, it's a funny thing. Look, everybody's different. Some people have a loyalty factor. Loyalty is not one. Loyalty is a two-way thing. Remember, as a promoter or a manager, you're giving them your loyalty. You're investing in them. You know, you're with them as well. It's not just them being loyal, like they're doing you a favour, being loyal to them. You know, you're providing opportunities. You're investing and building. It's not just money. It's your time and your efforts and your endeavours. And why you're doing it with them, you're not doing it with somebody else. And they're all, you know, people are different. Some of you want to trust them as far as you could throw them. Some guys, you know, their handshake, you know, you're 100% with them, and it can be disappointing. But that's how it is. It's the same in football. It's the same in, you know, in life really. You think about how many footballers at football clubs sort of, you know, disappear. Was it the kid at Delph at Aston Villa the other week? He's the club captain. He committed himself to, and then he's off. You know, I can think of Arsenal. What was his name? Anelka. You know, and there's been a lot of things like that. You know, they've destabilised themselves, and you know, and that's in football. You see it in business. How many? I mean, you see it in television. How many people go from one minute they're at ITV, then they're at Sky, then they're from Sky, they've gone here. That's what people do. you know, that's how it is, and you've got to just live with it.
Is it
Try
just
and
a
do
case
it
of getting used to it and just moving on?
I think with boxing, because it's such a one-on-one, you know, you think it's more a personal thing, and it can be this one. What I don't like is the people who do it and haven't got the balls or the integrity or the decency to even pick the phone up. You hear it elsewhere, or, you know, if I was to, you know, like you say what you hear behind the scenes, and, you know, or you get a text of someone, oh, I'm committed to you, Frank, forever, and all this stuff, and then a week later they're doing something else, and then they're slagging you off to justify them being slags or being disloyal. You get that? But that's life. That's life, and you know, what goes around comes around, and they have a career, and there's sometimes a justification. I've got a short career, so I've got to do what I can. And some of those times they go and do that thing, it doesn't work out for them. They can be out there in the wilderness, or they get beat, and you know, they get dumped. I mean, you know, I like to think, for example, with Derek, Danny Williams, you know, when they were losing, we stayed with them. You know, I stayed with them and carried on with them because they, you know, they, you know, we worked together. So I like to think that that's what, you know, your two-way thing of loyalty is all about. But it is what it is. You can't, you know, no good crying about it. It's annoying sometimes, and it can be, you know, if you take it too much to heart, then you drive yourself around the bend.
I guess it's kind of the same with the boxer trainer scenario. You see a lot of boxers, obviously, if after losing a fight, you know, they kind of
But justify it.
Yeah.
It weren't me. I've got rid of, you know, just dump the trainer, dump the man. I can remember years ago, Nigel Benn. He went off. Somebody blew some sugar up his arse, and off he went. And then it was like, first of all, he had a manager, a fellow called Bert McCarthy. He blew him out, then asked me to manage him, and I wouldn't do it because Bert's a pal of mine, and at the time, and but I promoted him, and I worked a deal out with them for what they were doing with management. Then he went, and his trainer come in to see me. He said, "Oh, he's this and he's that." I said to him, "You're going to go the same way," and that's what happened. He went to Jimmy Tibbs. Now, if you look at Nigel's book, in his book, he said he should never have gone. You know, he said, "I should have stayed. I should have done it," but that's how it is. Things happen, and he did come back and he finished his career with me, which I was pleased with, and you know, he was one of our boxing legends, and I'm glad he was there. But it just happens, and you know, I spoke to Chris Eubanks recently, senior, and he was saying that, you know, it's business, and it's business, it's business. Well, sometimes you think it's business, but if I treated it like that, and I think unfortunately for a promoter, sometimes you get a little bit close to the guy. But if you treat it solely as business, you'd be giving lots of fighters their contracts back. But you're not, you know, your investment, you know, you run a show, like the show at Wembley the other week, we shouldn't really run it. Once that shoot-off fight was done, I should have cancelled it, but everybody's trained, put it on, and we done it, you know, it cost us a lot of money to do that, to run that show. I mean, it weren't like a massive audience there or anything, because we lost the main event and we lost a couple of other fights that were going to take place on there. So, but you know, we wipe our mouth, and that's part of the game. We've got to get Bill's got to have his warm-up fight. Frank's got to have his fight. This one's trained, that one's trained. You know, and we did what we had to do. So, but that don't mean anything to you. That only means something to me. You know, I know what that costs, and it costs us a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you know, say it is what it is, and over the years it evens out, and you find guys jump from here to there, whatever, and that's the nature of the business. That's the nature of life.
The bottom line is there is no loyalty in boxing.
Well, there is. That's not true. There is loyalty in boxing. There is loyalty in boxing, but not everybody has got it, which you can't expect to happen, can you? It's like I keep saying to you about, you know, talk about other sports and so forth. There are people who are loyal. There's staff. I mean, I've got most of my staff have been with me forever. I mean, Ernie Draper, 35 years he worked with me. You know, yeah, they were. So
75 years old.
You have that loyalty. There is loyalty with people. You know, it's different, but you know, there's always someone who's going to tell them the grass is greener on the other side. But you know what that green grass does? It creates bullshit. So you know, it's what they want to, what they want to listen to. And at the end of the day, all I'm focused on is working with the guys that I'm with and giving them 100%, and that's all I've ever done. And all I want is for them to be successful. I want them to be successful. I want them to be a success story in boxing. I want them to make a lot of money. I want to make their families secure. That's a great thing to happen from the sport. That's your success story out of it. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult.
Just find what is going on with Eubank, by the way, because Eubank.
I don't know at the moment.
No.
I don't know. I'm not. Well, I've been out of action myself for a couple of weeks, so I don't know. So I'll no doubt we'll have a chat in the next.
Would you like to feature on any of your shows this year?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'm not sure. Not, it's everything's about terms, and sometimes things work for you, and sometimes they don't. And I can't. If it doesn't stack up, then it doesn't stack up for me, and I suppose that works the same way with them. It's got to stack up. It's got to work both ways.
Okay. All right, Frank. Listen, nice shoes, by the way.
Do you like them?
Yeah. I'm a 12 if you.
God, you got to get jobs stamping out forest fires with them big feet of yours.
No,
Kickstarter
nice.
Jumbo Jack.
Frank Warren wears Gucci, by the way. All right, well, listen, thank you very much to IFL TV, and like I said, we're going to have a little break now after the weekend of August. So, not a break as in, you know what I mean, there'll be stuff going on behind the scenes that show-wise.
No, we there's a lot going on, a lot of preparation and so forth. But as I say, the next couple of weeks we're going to announce these opponents for all these fighters, and be some good shows.
All right, thank
Thank
you
you,
very much.
mate.
All right, this has been KUGAN CASSIUS. If you wonder why I keep looking at the camera, it's just to make sure that it's still recording, because I'm a one-man operation today, so don't get paranoid. So I keep doing that to look to make sure it's still recording. Just thought I'd explain that to them. It's done now.
Right, done it?
Yeah, done it.
Good.
All right, KUGAN CASSIUS, Frank Warren, IFL TV. Thank you very much.